Well, good morning, everybody. Bonjour, well Allen. My name is Christin Lanteigne. I'm the manager of the New Brunswick Employer Support Services, and my presentation will be about what we experience in New Brunswick in terms of where we're coming from, in terms of working with employers across the province in New Brunswick, what we came to the conclusion about, what's missing and moving forward, what we should be focusing on in the future in terms of creating greater opportunities for persons with disability throughout the province. Now, before I start, as you can see, I'm French, and I'll be moving a lot my hands because it's part of my culture. And as well, I want to compete with this gentleman as well, besides me, who's doing a great job, by the way. And as well, my wife just bought me a Fitbit long ago. I think it's a nice way for her to tell me something that I don't know. But what she doesn't know, though, is that my Fitbit, the way it works, the technology is pretty cool, though. It doesn't count really the steps. It's every time you move an arm. So I did 5,000 steps this morning by brushing my teeth, and I hope by the time I'm done with my presentation, I reach my 10,000 step goal today. So basically, I want to give you a little bit of an idea about what New Brunswick Employer Support Services is all about in a nutshell. And I'm going to spare, I had a short video, but I tried to buy some time, but he's really expensive, that guy, the timekeeper. NBEST basically is a program of CRWDP. We're being funded by the province in New Brunswick through the labor market agreement with the federal government. Our job is to promote the hiring of persons with disability throughout the province. And technically, we're not working directly with persons with a disability. We only work with employers. So in a nutshell, our job is to change the employer's mindset about the whole concept of hiring persons with disability. And at first, though, how we've done it so far, when we first started, about a few years ago when I started with the organization, we were promoting the business case. We were changing the business case, adapting the business case to different circumstances, situations, or employers, sectors, and so on. Based on our finding, though, when I first started, though, I was trying to figure out where we're coming from in terms of organization and program, where we're at and where we should be going. I came to the conclusion, though, easily when I first started, by selling the business case, it's pretty cool. Employers get it, though. It's like, yes, I see the actual value. But then, though, after a short period of time, I kind of realized that we were not necessarily going anywhere with this. Because, the employers would get it. Yes, I get it. Yeah, no problem, And then they all go there in their own, way and so on. But at the end of the day, there's no changes. Well, there was, but not to our expectations. A friend of mine who's a welder started his business in his baby barn, but after burning the baby barn, he decided to have his own shop. He owns his shop in northern New Brunswick. He has 10 welders, plus a secretary working for him. As an employer, a business owner, he's still a welder, right? My point, what I'm trying to say here is that at first, though, when we were selling the business case, we were talking about the why. Why should an employer consider hiring persons with a disability? All kind of advantage, benefits, and so on. And they all got it when I was meeting employers on a regular basis, either face-to-face or group settings. But the how? How to do it, though? An employer like my friend who's a welder, who owns a business, if I talk to him about accommodation, it's not complicated and so on. Yeah, okay, no problem, but he still doesn't get it, what is accommodation and job customization. So when you look about, what has been done over the years, I might as well move my slides, right? And by the way, we're not client-based. As I mentioned early on, we work only with employers. And when employers in New Brunswick are really capable and excited and get the concept of hiring persons with disability, we share the information with agencies that are being funded as well through the same funding programs that we're getting our funding from. And they're the one doing the magic throughout the province. But us, we never work directly with persons with disability. We work with specialized agencies throughout the province. So in terms of where we're coming from, in terms of whatever has been done over the years, though, I guess the federal, provincial government invests a lot of money in different programs and so on to support persons with disability finding employment. And when I think about 30 years ago, my first job coming out in the university was I was in charge of a program we used to call it then, integrate persons with learning disabilities into the workplace, right? And our approach meeting employers is like, oh, this is the wage subsidy. This is what we need in order to find a job. And she's so nice. She will fit perfectly in your business, right? Those days kind of worked. These days, no longer working. What can she bring to the organization? What can she bring to an employer in terms of actual benefits? You know, those are the required skill sets the employer is looking for, and this is what they need. But over the years, a lot of things happen. Awareness made some significant progress as well, as I mentioned. You know, like we evolve a little bit. For instance, when I was in high school, most of the kids who had disabilities were in segregated class, sadly enough, right? But my kids went to school, and their best friends are kids with disabilities. The perception that the new generation has about persons with disability are significantly different. With all due respect, you know, at first when I came out of high school, when I first got in contact with a person with a disability, I thought that person was coming from a different planet. You know, it's like, because I was ignorant, right? Our kids these days, they come from a different perspective, and they have a different perspective. So having said that, whatever has been done over the years, it's not perfect. Nevertheless, landscape change is changing a little bit. Basically, what I want to say, though, is that over the years, though, we've been focusing on the business case, as I said, on the why should an employer consider. But we would like to go on the how, because most of the employers, and especially based on our finding in New Brunswick, we came to the conclusion that most of the employers we have in New Brunswick, 95% of them don't have an HR department. Small and medium businesses. Major corporation. In New Brunswick, you know, we have Irving and McCain. Those are the two biggest ones we have. All right, they are pretty big. But nevertheless, most of the companies we're dealing with don't even have an HR department. So what we figure out, though, and when I started with New Brunswick Employer Support Services with the support of our CEO, Maureen On, we kind of look back and step back a little bit and try to figure out, you know, okay, why we're not making a difference. So what NBES did over the last few years, we started developing informational tools to provide to employers, accommodation, job customization, and other stuff as well. We even developed an employer's guide written in plain and simple wording so that my buddy who's a welder can really understand how to have a job posting that is really inclusive. Do you really have to put ability to lift up to 50 pounds on your job posting if you only do it once or twice a year? Most of the employees don't know how to do that, don't know how to approach somebody about accommodation. So Maureen and I, we kind of figure out, you know, that we need to make some changes. We starting developing informational tools. And with those informational tools, we start, how much time do I have? Am I doing good? Oh, really? Okay, well, I guess it won't cost me that much today to buy extra time. But Maureen and I, we came to the conclusion by providing those tools, though, we were making a difference. Employers, on top of selling the business case to explain to them why should they consider hiring, now they were starting getting the tools and they fully understood, you know, how to do it. In one of the latest survey we did with our employers throughout the province of New Brunswick, based on the employers that we met in a certain period of time, over 49% of the employers we met hired a person with a disability. Those are interesting numbers, as opposed to originally by just preaching to employers. This is what you should be doing. It's good for the business. They all got it, though, but yet they were not moving. So by developing informational tools, we realized that the success rate was a lot greater. Employers were more confident. They knew about how to manage, supervise, recruit, and retain persons with disability within the organization. So moving forward, and I should move forward my slides as well. You know, as I was mentioning, where we're coming from is like by selling the business case, doing a little bit of awareness and so on. 5 minutes, okay, I got it. But nevertheless, there's still some systemic barriers, you know, that a lot of persons with disability are dealing, especially in regards to employment. Accessibility, transportation, support services. It's still a segment of the working age group population that is well underrepresented into the workplace, right? So those are stats that we got yesterday. And we talk a lot about, you know, what should be done, how should we do it, and we could talk about legislations, federally regulated companies, employers. There's 3 pieces of legislations taking care of whatever they're doing in regards to diversity and inclusion. There's a lot of legislation, but then again, you know, we could, maybe there's not enough teeth, and let's not all agree that there's not enough teeth on those pieces of legislations to move even forward with those federally regulated employers. But nevertheless, a lot of stuff has been done, though. And we would like to see something happening, though, from our perspective, based on what we found, though. When you provide the specific tools to employers and you teach them exactly what they need to know, most of the employers, you know, like, and even if we're asking them, what do you need to know, you know, in regards to become disability confident employer, because that's where I'm heading right now with the disability confident employer program we're trying to promote. Even if you ask employers, what do you need? Well, they don't know what they don't know, right? I guess it's up to us, you know, organizations and individuals working in this particular field to come up with a strategy, with a program. And this is what we've been trying to do recently. We got some funding through the federal government with CRWDP, and we're working on a pilot project to develop that disability confident employer program. And the whole intent, though, is to develop something that could be used from coast to coast to coast. And that will be aiming at small and medium-sized employers, where at the end of the day, we could have something that will provide them the tools, but it has to be done properly. Most of the employers, as I mentioned, you know, don't have any HR department. It's, as my friend, the welder, who is the owner, the janitor, the PR guy, the marketing guy, and he does it all, right? But it's still just, with all due respect, he's a welder, you know, like he doesn't have any education or training in specific field. So I'm suggesting that the Disability Confident Employer Program should really pay attention on the content. What do employers need to know? And as I said, it's not necessarily always the employers who has the answers, especially the target group, the one that we want to change their mindset and provide them the tools. So I would like to see something happening throughout the pilot project that we could develop a content. We have as well, though, because we want to have a program that is coast to coast to coast and it's accessible. The service delivery model has to respect that, take that in consideration. We have employers that for them taking a few hours off to take part of a training or take part of a certification or whatsoever, it's really complicated. These days we have technology, we have webinars. Throughout the province in New Brunswick, over the last few years, we've been selling or sharing our informational tools by providing webinars to employers. You'd be really surprised how it works. Employers are freaking out because, you know, it doesn't cost them a penny, first and foremost, right? They don't have to send anybody anywhere. So the cost to participate in those training sessions is almost inexistent, right? We also have to make sure that we define the target group for the Disability Confident Employer Program. As I mentioned, you know, like from our perspective in New Brunswick, 95% of the employers are small and medium businesses. And moving forward, we would like to see targeting those specific employers. They're the one who's going to make a difference at the end of the day. We can think about all the big shop and the big corporation that, you know, big employers, but the most significant impact will be with those small and medium businesses. Those are the employers we should be aiming at in order to make a difference down the road. I'm not saying that Jazz and all those big companies, we're not gonna, you're not off the hook, I can assure you about that. But having said that, we need to target that specific group, and that's what I would like to see, and that's what we would like to propose moving forward as a framework and national level is to see something that we could provide to the employers across the country, and in providing the tools in making a real difference for the individual that are still having some major challenges. But you have to remember, you know, sometimes it's really frustrating dealing with employers because we think that, you know, they just don't want to participate, but it's the fear of the unknown. We have to put ourselves sometimes in their shoes. And as much as we don't want to fail where we're putting a person with a disability in a workplace, we want to make sure that everything works properly. Employers as well, they don't want to fail as well. So let's think really seriously about this program, and I strongly encourage, we have 2 individuals from CCRWR involved in the project. They are here, Tiffany and Kiara. During the day, if you have a chance to talk to them, please feel free. And as well, I'll be more than pleased to share some more explanation or information about the program. On that note, thank you very much. And I reached my 10,000 steps.